Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday, and I'm going to talk about the Steam Deck, or as I'm calling the Steam Switch Pro. Yes, I start off snarky. I tend to be skeptical with these very hyped hardware announcements. Pre-order foobar already aside, I'm not going to hold that against them. You know, incredible demand is not the fault of a magic manufacturer. Good for Steam for having hype. Um, I am less thrilled about it now. If you're an early adopter and you've already ordered your Steam machine, bless you, okay? We need early adopters to act as guinea pigs for the rest of us that don't have the same amount of disposable income, so you can actually try this stuff and see how it actually works, as opposed to just theorizing to people like me who just don't have the money for this kind of stuff. It's like, Steam Deck, new video card, likelihood of getting either in the next year. There are shortages, right? Now, I'm coming into this knowing that I always get griefed when I talk about hardware. Okay, look, Slimer and Cthulhu are like, don't do it, man. Just don't do it. It never ends well. I don't talk about hardware very much for that reason. I find there's a lot of, I know the Dunning-Kruger effect is not proven, but I know there's a lot of, like, people think they know more than they actually think. And people keep quoting specs and all this stuff. And Leanna's first rule of hardware: the individual specs matter less than the actual physical architecture that puts all that stuff together. You can talk to me about teraflops till you flop over unconscious. I don't care. A piece of hardware is only as good as its weakest link. So, if you like this sort of analysis, even though I don't do it a whole ton because, oh my God, I just don't have the spoons, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of this thing, I want to be abundantly clear that we are not talking about one machine here with the Steam Deck. It's more Steam Decks, right? There are 3 different units at 3 wildly different price points, right? Now, I'm using Canadian prices here. Factor in that because this is the one I can get. I go to the store. You'll see here, this is store.steampower.com. I get Canadian prices. So if you're like, that's high, Canadian prices, CND. So $4.99 is the $3.99 thing. And they're advertising as starting at, right, $3.99 or $4.99 Canadian. But you're not getting the same machine at $3.99 US, $4.99 Canadian as you are even the next level up, which I'm starting going, okay, this is more what I expect a machine that can run PC games. And you notice it says will begin shipping in December 2021, but expected order availability is Q2 2022. I think those are highly speculative because of the semiconductor shortage as well. Nobody knows. And anybody who tells you they know when anything reliant on a chip is going to ship right now, when you can't even get a new refrigerator without back ordering right now. My fridge is dying. I'm learning this the hard way. It's a thing. Yeah. I mean, a big selling point for me is it in stock in the warehouse? I'll take it. But so you may notice a big difference for people who don't know what all these like letters and numbers and all that stuff mean. You may notice a big difference between the $3.99/$4.99 model and the next one up. And no, it's not the exclusive Steam Community Profile Bundle. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Okay? And Steam's not telling. Like that, oh, there's a dock. Okay. What? Okay, you're not telling me what a Steam community profile bundle is, Steam? Like, what is that? That's probably important to inform my purchase. But it's not, it's the faster storage. And they do say right here, so they're not trying to bamboozle anyone here, okay? Like, the eMMC storage on the base model is very clear right under the type of storage. I give them credit for this. But a lot of people probably don't know what the difference is between an eMMC storage and an NVMe SSD are. Basically, it's the difference between, what is considered essentially the gold standard for storage for gaming in SSD technology. The NVMe is a form of PCI technology that allows things to load very, very quickly. So your experience on an eMMC, which is the soldered onto the board form of flash storage that is used in cheaper laptops and I believe cell phones, I'm not sure, but definitely cheaper laptops. That's what you're dealing with for $399 US. In my opinion, don't bother with the $399 machine. The $399 machine is an advertising price point to be somewhat comparative to the Switch. You're not going to get a good experience at that price point. You're just not. It's not going to be PC mobile gaming because it's going to be so slow. Load screens are going to be interminable. The technology is just not there. If you want to get a Steam Deck, spend the money. This is PC gaming, people. I don't care if it's mobile or not. I don't care how much it looks from the Switch. You don't have to buy the top of the line everything. I don't recommend that. It doesn't future-proof well. But to a certain extent, there is a certain base investment in PC gaming where you get what you pay for. And even at, $666 Canadian, that's a fucking steal. That's a decent GPU right now. Not even in Canada. The prices are fucking insane here. Now that sort of segues into my next major concern about the Steam Decks. And this is from my personal experience as a long-time PC gamer. I was one of the people who in past iterations past generations, attempted to PC game on a hybrid chip. They make a big fancy thing of, we partnered with AMD. Well, let me show, don't tell. Here we go. We've partnered with AMD to create Steam Deck's custom APU optimized for handheld gaming. It is a Zen 2 RDNA 2 powerhouse, delivering more than enough performance to run the latest AAA games in a very efficient power envelope. Yes, great if said game is compatible with an APU chip configuration. Don't assume that. Back in the early days of video cards, I got bit by this. Now, granted, this was the time that, you'd buy a game and it would only run on like 6 different video cards, but the premise is the same. A game built for dedicated CPU, dedicated GPU is not necessarily going to play well with these hybrid APUs because they work differently. But they're gonna have to patch games, and some games manufacturers are gonna be down with that, some aren't, which brings me to my next major concern. The Steam Deck runs on Linux. From an absolutely practical perspective, I don't know why more gamings, I don't know why Linux isn't the standard for gaming. What? Yeah, okay, I'm going that nerdy. It's a much more efficient operating system that gets out of the fucking way. Valve tried a Linux based operating system with its Steam machines. Remember those? Back in when the hell was it? When was the Steam machine? It was I had it here. The Steam machines were 2015. Remember those? Yeah, those. Um Now, the Steam machines ran on Linux. Really great idea. Problem is, less than 15% of all Steam titles, even now, today, 6 years later, officially support Steam OS. That means Linux. So you're talking about 15% of Steam's catalog that you can expect to be playable on this system at launch. Now, I think they're hoping that with enough of an install base, it'll incentivize developers to, make games for Steam OS, but the reality is this is PC games. For a lot of games manufacturers, PC games are only a portion. I mean, indie is PC, yes. It may be very easy to take a game like, I'll just pull one out of my hat, like Super Meat Boy or Undertale or Limbo that aren't terribly graphics intense and port them over to the Steam OS. But for those big titles that let's face it, are going to be the big carrot. I mean, okay, they're advertising Portal and Control and PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. That's interesting. With this stuff. Sorry, no, that's a different thumbnail. Not even. What have they got here? I know I kept seeing Control in the images. But yeah, they're being a little cagey about what games are actually going to work with your Steam library. It doesn't actually say you will be able to play your entire Steam library on the Steam Deck. All it says is your Steam library anywhere. Once you've logged into Steam Deck, your entire Steam library shows up just like any other PC. Except it's not PC, it's Linux. It's not Windows, which tends to be PC. But I guess Linux, PC, fair, fine. You'll be able to find your collection and favorites exactly where you left them. It doesn't necessarily mean it will run. Again, only 15% of Steam titles officially support Steam OS. Now, if those are the Steam titles you're interested in playing, awesome. But please check before you invest. Unless you don't care, you just want the bragging rights on the new tech. It's a showpiece, like, a Fossil watch or something like that. If that's why you're buying the Steam Deck, go for it. Good for you. Like I said, we need early adopters. Not everybody can be, tech wouldn't survive if everyone was as cranky and curmudgeonly as I am about these things. Though I was really bullish on the Switch, and I was right about that one. But what Nintendo learned is it's not about power. It's about experiences. And that's they're saying this is not a Switch killer, and they're right. They don't have that Nintendo catalog, they don't have that Nintendo brand, they don't have the Nintendo shop, so on and so forth. I think they are trying to do sort of an if you build it, they will come approach, that they're hoping that there will be enough of these things that the pre-orders will be, so gangbusters, and they have been. I mean, there's a lot of excitement surrounding the pre-orders here. And that will be enough to encourage developers to make their games compatible with SteamOS, with this Linux-based system they're using. it's the strategy that people who take these risks in the tech space have to adopt. That's not a criticism. That's just, I want to be really clear-eyed about what this is here. And you notice I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm saying don't buy the base model. Because the base model, it's the idea of the thing. I do not see a good experience on eMMC storage. I just don't, especially on, 64 gigs? Like, that's no space to your games are, it's not even going to be on that storage. With 64 gigs, that's basically the OS and a couple of small games. You're going to be running everything off that micro SD storage. As opposed to, a 256 gig SSD, NVMe SSD, or, the big kahuna, the one that I'm like, okay, now you're talking here, 512 gigs, which is basically what I think the base unit for the base model for the PlayStation 5? PS5. I think that's what it is. I could be wrong though. But now we're talking. Now you can actually store a few games. And that storage is really important because if you're not playing the game off your SSD drive, you're not getting all the benefits of SSD gaming, right? If your game is coming off a micro SD slot, well, you're getting micro SD speeds. These are just facts, folks. These are just facts. I think what is creating all the excitement is the idea. After the NVIDIA Shield and so on and so forth, all these attempts at some sort of handheld PC gaming, there's finally the possibility that once again, mobile PC gaming is viable. Because it looks exactly like the fucking Switch. Now, is this a very useful thing for some people? Yes. I mean, I will note, before people go, no, it's not exactly like the Switch. It has 4 extra buttons in the back. All right, fine. You know what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm saying. It's a souped up Switch. It looks very much like the Switch. That's why I don't know what those things are underneath the thumbsticks. Are they touch pads or something like that? Like, here, let me show you. Here's the things in the back. Here's the extra buttons. You got the R2, R1 like PlayStation. What are these things? What are these? Are those touch pads? Are they just a place to rest your fingers? Are they buttons? Like, are they like a mouse button? Now, apparently you're supposed to be able to attach a keyboard and mouse, but that takes the portability way down. I'm not quite sure how that works. But again, there's a lot of unanswered questions about this stuff. This is a pre-order phase. Nobody's got their hands on any of this. Buyer beware. If you want to take the risk, that's great. You probably also invest in, Bitcoin or Ethereum or Dogecoin or something like that. Good for you. Like I said, the economy needs people willing to take risks. I get why some people want mobile PC gaming. They have very long commutes. A lot of people who are adulting, they sit on a train for an hour and a half each way a day. Right? It's why mobile gaming takes off in places like Japan. It's like why it's such a huge portion of the market. The time they have to play, have more time to play games during the week in transit than they do at home in front of their PC. Yes, I get that. That's, I think, part of the reason the Switch took off. That's why I love the Switch when I was doing a lot of air travel. God bless the Switch, man. Bless the Switch. When that flight from Toronto to LA, that 4.5 hour to 5.5 hour fucking monstrous so-called domestic flight, just under the 6-hour threshold where you get all the extra fucking perks. Oh my God, the Switch made those flights so much less miserable. Can you tell how much I love the Switch for that reason? I get it. I get the desire there. And it's easy to say, we already have the Switch for that. I get the promise of a much larger games catalog with the promise of PC gaming. The problem is, that's not there yet. And my biggest concern, if it was a company like Nintendo, I'd be more willing to say it's worth the risk, because Nintendo, Wii U aside, and even the Wii U, there were some decent games out for the Wii U. Just they couldn't explain what it did. Steam has a bad habit of abandoning formats and abandoning product formats before the format even comes out. I go back to the Steam machines. Even the Steam controller. There was a huge amount of hype and a lot of fighting when they first revealed the idea of the Steam controller. And the more that went on, the more Steam kind of lost interest in it and went away. Steam tried streaming games. Apparently they still sort of support that, but nah, the Steam machine was the one where, man, the third party people really got left holding the bag on those ones. People say it's better now because Steam's in control here. Steam's actually doing the manufacturing. Like, yeah, okay. Steam's taking on the risk. But that doesn't stop Steam from being Steam. Like, there are certain inherent things about Valve that just are Valve. And one of those is Squirrel. They change their minds. They pride themselves on their lateral structure. They change their minds like fart in a windstorm, man. Like, this isn't cool anymore. Let's go on to something else. And people seem to have short memories where that's concerned because they are the biggest PC distribution platform. No matter how much, Epic Games Store and GOG have tried to create, and Origins and Uplay have tried to create meaningful competition for Steam. Steam is still the biggest game in town. We want Steam to do well on this mobile platform because all our games are on Steam, right? You don't want to have to buy a new version of your game to play mobile. Again, I understand that, okay? But what's cheaper? Buying a new version of your game for the Switch? Or buying a $650, I guess it's like $525 machine for US prices. Let's see, Steam Deck US prices. It'll just say, yeah, I was pretty close. $529. We get fucking gouged in Canada. We get double import duties as well as the exchange rate in Canada. Fucking sucks with tech. But, what's cheaper? Buying your commute games in Switch form or having different games for your Switch that you play during your commute, or the Steam Deck? Again, if you're an early adopter, have money to burn, it's your version of like a fancy watch or a sports car, go for it. It's your money. Good for you. I'm still going to get people complaining about this. I know that. It's the people who are actually going, I'm not made of money. I don't have a ton of disposable income. Is this a good investment? My advice would be, general rule of thumb, wait 6 months after anything comes out. I'd check back in 6 months. I expect that if this thing works at all, they will have a new and improved version coming out that I suspect will completely scrap the $399 model, because I'll go out on a limb and say that's going to be a hunk of crap. Like, you're buying a PC gaming machine that basically has the processing power of a Samsung cell phone or, a non-gaming laptop. You're going to get what you're going to get out of that. But I would definitely wait until they work the bugs out with the, CPU, dedicated CPU, dedicated GPU, which, even gaming laptops have now. That's part of the reason you buy a gaming laptop, because you don't have one of those hybrid chips, which work fine. Even for like graphics work and things like that. Even some video editing works perfectly fine on those hybrid chips, but games just don't. Learn from my pain. See how that APU situation shakes out. Do your research on the games you actually want to play. Make sure they are truly compatible before you spend $650 or $529 plus local sales tax. Remember that sales tax that ups the price. I have concerns. Again, if Steam were a company less likely to abandon things when they're not working out, I'd be less, but they are. So I'm not. Makes sense? Makes sense. All right. Here comes the fucking hate. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. I don't know why people get so worked up over machines, but they do. Thanks for watching.